Howdy, 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 and good evening to everybody. Thank you for joining me here on this Sunday, September the 10th. We have an amazing lineup for tonight. We even have a special guest that's jumping in as well. So it's going to be quite the conversation going on. It's going to be a barn burner. Osa, I hope your ears are covered because they're going to be burning in a little bit. But before we get started, you know how this goes. Let's bring in our good old friend from Clearwater, Florida. Chad, how we doing?
Good, Poe. How you doing? Thanks for having me.
Good, sir. Good. Thank you for joining us. So, what's our weather? Okay, I can't hardly see you over them plushies you got there, buddy.
Thanks, John S., for giving me the plushies. Appreciate it. We'll get right to work, Poe. We got a lot of work to do. It's 85 degrees in Clearwater, Florida, Poe. 0% precip. The wind's also at 0, Poe. And Roscoe advises it's 68% humid today, Poe.
I told him to stay out of that daggone helicopter, but that dog don't listen for nothing. So, like Dr. Phil says, that dog don't hunt. So, all right, Chad, we'll be bringing you back in a little bit here, but it's time to get going. What a lineup. It's some folks that I've been conversing with in the backstage kind of stuff. We're, messaging back and forth, been trying to figure out the right time to get things going. Our first guest coming in, I'm just going to bring two of them in right away, and then we'll bring in our special surprise guest. She's an LA girl. She is a former Scientologist. She is part of the Degraded Daughters of Dianetics. So please welcome Vanessa LaRose. Hey, V.
Hi.
How we doing, hon?
Good. How
thank
are you?
Excellent. I'm just glad we finally found the time when we can get you on here.
Me too. Love chatting with you all the time, and now we're doing it live.
Excellent. Thank you. Well, we're going to bring in a friend of Vanessa's. She's been working diligently. This a former Scientologist also. The most horrid thing that I can think of besides losing a child is when you lose your parents. And she thought she had lost her father, to find out that he's been alive and working in Scientology, and no one told her a thing. Very strong, very resilient person who I have a lot of respect for, and I am honored and humbled to have them on tonight. Please welcome Liz Ferris. Hey, Liz.
Hey, everybody. Hi, V.
Hi. Good to see you.
I know. We're all wearing black. You realize that, right?
Oh, yeah. That's my usual Sunday night garb is black.
I'm wearing Bruno, too.
Oh, Roscoe's out. You ain't getting Roscoe in right now. We got a family of rabbits that are somewhere right outside of his invisible fence area. So he's out there having strokes trying to get at him. So,
It is allergy season in LA. These dogs, my eyeballs, everything is suffering. I apologize ahead of time. I'll be like wiping my eyes.
Oh, we have two seasons here in Michigan. We have mosquito and freezing. So right now you walk out the door and literally you'll be swarmed by mosquitoes as soon as you get out the door. And having gotten malaria earlier this year while I was in Malaysia from a mosquito bite, I freak out every time I see a skeeter. So, well, we've got a special guest we're going to bring in also. He is a friend of the channel. He is, we're working together, doing a lot of collaboration. You all know him. We all have nothing but respect for this gentleman. He is a professional. He is a gentleman. Plus, he is married to royalty. Please welcome Jeffrey Augustine. Hey, Jeff.
How you doing? Hi, Liz. Hi, Vanessa. Hi, Chief.
Hey.
Howdy. Yeah. We got Surges in the chat.
We do. We do have Surges in the chat.
Wow. Well, welcome, Surge.
Yeah.
All right.
I called you earlier. I'm waiting for your call back, but I did get a text, so you're off the hook.
Oh, John, we don't consider it not winter. It's mosquito season here, being pretty much an island, and then all the freestanding water we've got. My Lord. So, Apostate Alex is in here. This is getting to be quite the audience here tonight. So,
yeah.
Right.
Jeffrey, I think you've been pretty busy last week, haven't you?
Yeah, I was at court as a sentencing for the convicted felon, Daniel Peter Masterson, aka Danny Masterson. I'd been at both trials, and when he was found guilty, and then at the sentencing. So
excellent.
I'm glad to answer any questions about that.
Before we get started, folks, get over to Liz's channel, and subscribe. Let's get her over 1,000 as quickly as we can. So, show that support, show that love, folks. I know you all got it in you. So let's get out there and make sure we take care of Liz on this. Let's see here. So, Liz, I think you had some hot fire to spew on the Danny Masterson thing, didn't you?
I'm so stuck on stupid when it comes to some of their responses.
Oh.
Like he was just proven guilty. It was a guilty. Not only you get life with the potential of parole at 30 years, yet these two supposed we'll just call them they are celebrities. These two celebrity people want to come out and say, we thought these weren't going to be seen, and we're very sorry if we've affected anybody. I thought they were actors, and that was probably the worst acting I've ever seen in my entire life.
Wow.
She just looked pissed off to be there, and he looked like he didn't know how to read.
I from the beginning of that trial, he had no remorse. He showed nearly any emotion. He looked like he was angry everywhere he was going. Dude, you know what you're being charged with. You know what you've done, and then you were convicted of it. Get over it. It's time to get rid of that whole attitude and all that. You are what you are, and now it's proven. So, it burnt me up. What do you think there, Jeff?
Well, first, I'm looking at a document here, which I'll have posted on my blog this evening. As far as them not knowing, there's been some misinformation on YouTube. A couple of things. When you write a letter to the court, it's part of the public documentation of the court. Okay. Now, the judge has the discretion, and some of these letters were redacted. But basically, Philip Cohen and Sean Hawley, Masterson's criminal defense attorneys, they entered these letters. There's a 108-page document, and it's defendant's memorandum of points and authorities and supportive positions at sentencing. So sentencing positions. And the letters from Ashton Kutcher and Mila Kunis are quoted along with all the other letters, and they're attached as exhibits. So for them to say that they were leaked is wrong, because I heard one YouTuber say, oh, they were leaked to try to embarrass Ashton and Mila. Well, in the first place, my argument is you can't have it both ways. If you're a strong advocate for women's rights and you're against those types of abuses, of which, look, Masterson's crimes were so violent that they carry a life sentence in the state of California under our penal code. They're an automatic strike offense. And so you can't have it both ways. You can't say that you support women, you're opposed to violence, and yet you want a special exemption for your friend Danny. And then, oops, we didn't know about it. So the hypocrisy is staggering. And if they actually thought that this was going to ever see the light of day, they're wrong. Philip Cohen, Masterson's attorney, put it in his legal filing, and that's a public document anyone can download offline, and I have it right here. So.
Well, every news person there, and even more people than that, every one of them are putting in FOIAs for everything from that trial. So that's just plain old stupidity. I think it's more insulting to have them turn around and give these half-hearted apologies they're given. And someone had made the comment that basically their apology sounded, sorry, I got caught. That's how it feels to me.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So sorry that I wrote a letter. That I wrote a letter that basically explained that I think this is an amazing man and an amazing father, and just the kindest of souls. Look what he did at 9/11. But you're ignoring what he just got convicted of and what you're fully aware that he's done. And you've been at these parties. You guys were inseparable. The only one that wasn't in that whole cliquey group was Topher.
Yeah.
They knew the women personally. So I believe if it was a heartfelt apology, they could address them by name. They've all given out their first name by now.
Yep.
And if they wanted to make an apology to them, then they could have. I think that Scientology's attorney may have opposed them a little bit in that they may have told them that they were submitted under seal. But Judge Almeida has made it clear that she doesn't leave many things under seal in her courtroom, right, Judge? Right, Jeffrey?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, she's very much well, it's actually not even her, it's the rules of evidence in the rules of court in California. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah,
Hey,
so I mean,
Vanessa,
either
you're still coming
way.
in real soft, hon.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'll adjust this and I will come right back to you guys, okay?
Okay.
All right. With Topher, it seemed like he had been when he left the show, it seemed like he was pretty much outcasted or blacklisted by
Yeah.
the rest of the cast in the first place. And I mean, you treat me like that, and I'm going to be the same way. I'm not going to be there for you if you're going to sit there and turn your back on me and treat me like I'm not part of the group. So but kudos to him for not jumping in there and trying to influence things like everybody else did.
Yeah. I think honestly, if they did attempt that, he could be like, we weren't friends, we were coworkers.
Right.
Deborah
Jo Rupp, that just floored me when I realized she was one of the people who had done something on that, who had sent in a letter as well. Oh my goodness.
Topher's wife.
Yeah, Deborah, she played the mom.
Oh,
Deborah,
okay.
Rupp.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're talking about the Red and I can't remember their name.
Red and Kitty.
Correct. So
Why did you jump to that?
But I didn't know that they wrote a letter because I barely made it past the Jane Doe's, and I was already at that. Yeah. And then as soon as I heard some of the letters, I've dived into that rabbit hole of, oh my God, what is wrong with you people?
Yeah.
Like, talk about throwing poo at people. Like, how dare you clown on every woman that's ever gone through this?
I'm doing a special on it tomorrow night. And I know, Jeffrey, you did one also, and didn't you as well, Liz?
Yeah, I did one.
How these folks had, they're now trying to turn face to protect themselves from the backlash of it, but it's too late. It's out there now. So
yeah, from a PR perspective, and of course, you working at CC, you get trained a lot in PR. From a PR perspective, that is the most giant flap I've ever heard in my entire life. Like, the idea that they wouldn't just release a statement, because at least a statement could have seemed better than poor acting, like they didn't want to be there. If you were trying to make it more emotion filled, you failed. Like, if acting is your career, you need to find another one. I hear flipping burgers at McDonald's is hiring.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. And Frizinu, it was Deborah Jo Rupp. She played Kitty. She's the one who wrote the letter. I don't know anything about Red himself doing it. I can't remember what his actual name is, but I don't think he wrote a letter out on it, though.
I think he did.
Oh, did he?
I think they're saying that. I think the only one that didn't was Topher. I think if I understood correctly, Wilmer wrote one, and so did Laura Prepon, if I'm understanding correctly.
Laura did also. Well, I'm not surprised. I mean, she says she's no longer involved, but
yeah, she says she's no longer a Scientologist and so many things, but she's not outing some of the shit that she experienced. Like,
yeah,
you know what? Go to the police, just walk over there and say, you know what? I wasn't involved in this, and this. I know the truth behind it. You know what? I am not worried about them disconnecting my family, because if you're really no longer a part of the church, then you can't have your family. That's how it works. Any of your family that's in, c'est la vie.
Yeah.
Yeah. Jeff, John Sostowski wants to know, do you think that the 50 letters made any difference whatsoever in the court's decision?
No, I do not. And I'll tell you why, John. The crimes were so violent, and the circumstantial evidence, you had 5 women in total testify, 3 charged Jane Does and 2 who could testify for prior acts. And they all testified the same thing. And Ariel Anson, the deputy district attorney who worked alongside Reinhold Mueller, she in her closing arguments said that it all begins with a drink. So the women testified to taking a drink, getting lightheaded, dissociative, and the room's, spinning out of control. So clearly there was circumstantially drugs used. And then at one point there was Danny had a gun in his hand in one of the incidents, and they were all crimes of force. And they rose not to the regular R word. I don't know if we can use that word, Chief. What do you want to do? SA, you want to call them, or what are the YouTube rules?
Yeah. Liz, if you don't know, I get hit every single live stream with a community rules violation, and they demonetize everything until it gets cleared. But every single live stream gets hit. So we use a lot of non-words.
To answer John's question, these crimes of violence were so awful that in California they demand a life sentence. That's what the California Penal Code calls for, is a life sentence, and 15 years to life for one crime, but a life sentence. So no, I don't think the letters had any influence. In fact, I think the letters were a really bad idea, but maybe Philip Cohen was hoping to influence the court. But the evidence, if you had to, just listening to the Jane Does testify during trial, it brought me to tears, and then their victim impact statements.
Oh yeah.
So it wasn't going to sway the court at all that Danny had been involved in Scientology's PR efforts, like their fake. After 9/11, they did the purification rundown. Tom Cruise sponsored that in New York.
Yeah. Someone said something about that to me today, and I was like, I'd never even heard of it, but I'm going to be looking into it. So
it's a whole show we could do. I know I was active as a critic. I have a lot of photos on it. But look, it's sort of like if someone commits a crime of violence, and this is something that Sean Hawley said. She, in closing arguments on sentencing, Sean Hawley, she said that Danny Masterson was a good husband and a good father. And DA Mueller came back and said, Your Honor, how often have we heard that so-and-so is a good father or husband? But that doesn't change the fact that good husband and father can be a violent serial.
SA.
R word, a violent serial offender, as is the case here. So how many times do we see on the news,
right,
that the news shows up at someone's neighborhood and they say, I never knew my neighbor Bob was a serial killer. And that's the thing I had about Ashton Kutcher and Mila Kunis's letter. It's almost one of those, we didn't know he was a serial killer, but we didn't know he was involved in serial essays, right?
Right.
They can't even, it's sort of like at that point, you don't defend or ask for leniency. So I don't know what is going on with those two. It was bizarre.
Oh yeah. Where'd Vigo?
I have no idea. I was like, she just vanished. She's a ninja. She's a ninja. I'm telling you, she's a ninja.
Here's one for you, Liz. Liz, I don't pray, but if I did, you'd be in mine. That's from Brain E. Dreads.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Frizinu, Kurtwood Smith. Yeah, there's Red. And I just saw that, he was listed along with Deborah Jo Rupp for sending one of those wonderful letters in. So
by the way, I have Ashton's letter right here. It's dated July 27, 2023. So, I have it. I'm looking at it right here. And he types his name out on it as Christopher A. Kutcher. He doesn't come out as Ashton. He puts Christopher A., maybe hoping to slip one by, but the document is right here. And I also have his Mila's documents. So I have all the letters that Philip Cohen put in his exhibits in a public document.
Wow.
So they, it's right here. But this thing is embarrassing. Ashton's quite effusive in his praise of Danny. It's
Ooh.
actually quite sickening. And he's taken in by the 9/11 event. They're trying to get a lot of mileage out of that.
Oh, okay. Oh, I see. Laura didn't, neither did Vilmer. Aaron corrected his statement about Prepon having written one and commented specifically on Wilmer not doing it either.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I don't see one here in the file I have, the 108-page document. I do not see one from Laura Prepon. And like I said, I'll post this to my blog right after the show.
let's see here from Just Lisa Liz. I wouldn't be surprised if COS pressured them to write the letters because they have something on them.
And for me on that idea,
I have
I'm
a
not
lot to
trying to
say
give-
too. Sorry, I had to restart and get
There
closer
you are.
to get my thoughts straight.
Let that voice be heard.
right? So my opinion as to whether or not Scientology like blackmailed them to writing the letters, I would think if they did get blackmailed or if they did get, hey, don't let us out this, and you can just write a little letter. They would have reread the letter and it would be grammatically correct. They would have also had a lawyer go over it with a fine-tooth comb so there'd be no backlash. It would be a big ball of, like, it'd still be a letter full of shit, but it'd be more fluffy and grammatically correct.
Yeah. Yeah, you make a good point, Liz. I agree. The Carol Masterson's letter really goes on and on and on. And it's an interesting, the document gives an insight into Danny's childhood, and they try to humanize him because he's viewed as a monster, and he is. And they're trying to show the human side to Danny.
He's a proven monster. And
he
yeah,
has
to do
a lot
that.
of money to show the human side of him, and these victims don't have a lot of money to defend themselves against fair game or the attacks they've received since the beginning, or this predator who was created inside of the Church of Scientology. So the fact that Ashton Kutcher and Mila Kunis are willing to sit there and advocate for him is fine, but they need to take responsibility for their actions, and it needs to be known that that is the person who they are saying, I didn't witness him SA anybody, so this is the person I know. Okay, well, apologize to the victims that perhaps, if you're going to issue an apology. That's the joke. It's like, did they issue an apology for Bill Cosby too? Like, you guys are not that good, and you didn't even seem that interested in it. It's kind of blowing up all over TikTok. I don't know if you guys have seen it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So
on
it's
Twitter
like,
X or whatever
Aaron's
it's
video has
called.
been seen 200,000 times today about their apology because it was the worst, not the worst of all time, but one of the worst of all time.
Yeah.
And Liz, the Suppressive Pup says, just wanted to stop by and show some support for Liz on her channel, struggling with some topics. So I'm ducking out now. Love to all, D. Thank you so much, everybody.
I can understand that if it's triggering. Yeah, I can understand.
Yeah, if at all you feel triggered, you feel like this is too much, it is totally okay.
Yeah.
32 years being a law enforcement officer, I've worked, one is too many, but I worked a great deal of these kinds of cases, and believe me, what the victims go through is, there's no words to describe it. And when I heard the first officer, I believe it was Detective Reyes, the way that she handled one of the Jane Does, that's disgusting to me. It doesn't matter if you believe it or not. Show some empathy. Be a human being. And the thing is that every victim is going to act differently than the others do. They all have their own way of dealing with this trauma, these emotions, and everything that's going through. And they're not going to act the same. Some will just be absolutely smashed. Others will be stoic. But the thing is that they need compassion. They need support. They need someone that's understanding and doesn't just blow them off or treat them like they're the suspect. Yeah. And that was and absolutely ridiculous.
Hurt people. And I think that we know that better than anything. So men especially can have a different way of expressing their trauma and their abuses. And sometimes that's all it takes is them coming to terms with their own trauma and not wanting to hurt other people and put that power over others.
Oh yeah. Well, it's like the old story of the victims of predators oftentimes will become predators. And that's because there's this strange reset that happens in a situation like that. And sometimes, this is the first time that, these people are experiencing anything in that territory. And that's what leads them down a path of that's all they know. So it's horrible. But what happens, in a situation like this, where it's even worse for the fact that they were drugged and not even conscious to find out what has happened to them afterwards. Just horrible.
Yeah.
So,
I did my video. I released it last night. I talked about the context in which this occurred. So these assaults happened 2003, 2004, that period, 2002. And I just want to make clear, in the state of California, there's no statute of limitations on any crime which carries a life sentence. So that's why they were charged 20 years later. But it took that long to get. Well, a couple of points I want to make in context of 2003 to 2004, 2005, that period, is look at what's happening. One thing is that David Miscavige actually conducted wife auditioning for Tom Cruise. That's how women are viewed. We have to go find a Scientology Stepford wife for Tom Cruise.
Who did that.
Yeah.
well,
so
Vanessa, that's how
I
your
mean,
channel's
don't we
based.
all know that? Like, isn't that it has been reported, right? How come we don't talk about what is the,
Yeah, a lot of the newer Scientology watchers don't know the context of Leah Remini asks about Shelley, and she's subjected to hell, sex checks, punishment. And then David Miscavige makes his wife disappear. The whole general view of women in the church at that time. I know of a case of a woman who was severely beaten, and her husband should have been reported to the police. It should have been domestic violence, and he should have gone to prison. But he made a huge donation. And she was at one time a prominent indie. I'm not going to give her name. She was at one time a very prominent indie, and he made a big IS donation. It was handled inside as an ethics cycle. So in context, this culture that Danny felt that he was entitled. A question for Vanessa and Liz, having grown up in it, at what point, at some point he becomes a predator and he decides it's okay to use drugs, that he can cross that line. What goes on in his head? What do you think, Vanessa, Liz? Where does he make that jump into being a criminal?
Liz,
what causes?
Start?
Honestly, the instant you even think about doing it, that for me would be the instant that you became a criminal. The instant that even crossed your bloody mind as an option. But the justification for Scientology, I don't even, if he keeps donating, there'll never be anything wrong with him.
I mean, wouldn't it come up in a sec check?
Of course.
So that's
well,
the thing.
If you believe that they work and you didn't just squeeze cans and lie.
Yeah, I mean, what do you think is going on in these sec checks?
Up a little bit on your volume.
Which one?
What do you think is going on in these sec checks? What would be handled after the sec check? Because they just get handled as to what they did to pull it in, So they're not reporting it to the police. They're reporting it
in their excerpt folders.
Yeah, and Danny has always gotten everything that he wanted by just asking for it, essentially, because of the celebrity culture and the celebrity worship. So when you're in a position of power, you're already kind of larger than a woman, and you're already getting celebrity treatment, and the church actually loves your family, and you're on the cover of Celebrity magazine, you're not getting punished.
No, you're absolutely not. But I did the sec checks happen? I think that it wasn't, I don't think he would necessarily get sec checked. I think it would more be on the lines, well, let's get you some auditing. What did you do? What happened? And he probably, because he's so boastful about 90% of his life, he was probably like, yeah, women, can I cuss or no? Because I know you don't want to. Okay. Yeah.
What's that?
Is cussing okay or no?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So he probably went, you know what? Hey, I did it. I fucking dropped that pill in her drink. Oh, I little stirred it with my finger. I gave it to her and said, and just waited. And then goes into details about explaining all of it to Scientology, and then turn around and they say, okay, thank you for admitting it. Thank you for this. Now let's begin again. They do that whole thing. Oh, your needle's floating. Of course it's floating. He just admitted that he did something that turned him on.
No,
Like,
he also just like heard the auditor say, yeah, you're right. Like she was probably at fault because she was last lifetime a totally bad person. I can't believe you had this poor SP on your lines. Let's get these SPs away from you. Like this is our grooming from birth to be able to disassociate from the delusions. So that's what happens here. Like it doesn't make sense. There's no point in trying to make sense of it. I think if anybody wants to, they should go watch Chrissy Carnell Bixler's Instagram as well as Cedric Zavala's, because they are posting incredible videos about actual straight evidence of Danny and Ashton talking about how Mila's first kiss at 14 was on camera, and Danny paid Ashton $10 to slip a tongue in. And she was already really worried about the kiss, like it was her first kiss, blah, blah, blah. And he was displaying predatory behavior earlier. So if we had intervened, or the system, by we, I mean like mental health system or anybody, and gotten any kind of help to this individual, maybe women wouldn't have been essayed later.
yeah, if they'd gotten the correct
So
actions
what does a
done.
sec check do? I mean, you know, like in the church, they're just hiding crimes all the time. That's Serge's point of hotel culture.
Yeah, and I like if Serge is on the comments, because of the way Scientology is structured, and you pulled it in. One of the sec check questions, I believe, would be to the Jane Does, when did you do this in an earlier lifetime to someone else? Would that be a sec check question, Liz?
Not as general as that is.
No.
No, it wouldn't be as general as that. It would be more along the lines of, is there anything else that you would like to, is there anything else that you'd like to say in regards to this? Or they'll ask they just repeat they repeat the original question.
No.
Man, I feel like I'm going through a sec check right now.
I'll repeat the auditing command.
Yep.
Yeah.
They repeat it. And then once they repeat it, you already got out that one. So let's get out this one. And then as soon as he admits to, this bullshit here, he goes, okay, let's go back to the question. When was the last time that you blah, And then
but that's
he keeps
not how they're
doing
handling Danny, because the comments, they're right. I mean, he's an alcoholic per what people have said. If that's true, if he's an alcoholic, you are not allowed to be going in session. They've known that he was not, like Tony Ortega has covered this extensively through the years. They've known that he was kind of like an illegal PC and couldn't get auditing. So you can't even really get sec checks if you're not sessionable. So if you need alcohol to function, you're not going to be sessionable. So I don't really know when the last time he got auditing was. I think they knew that he was a potential trouble source, if you will, and literally have been dealing with that for a very long time. And this is the explosion.
Yeah.
Let's see. And someone was, Oracle One. I thought he couldn't get auditing because he has an alcohol dependency. So
correct. But I mean, there are ways where you're not doing it, where you're just writing up your overts and withholds. So he may not have gotten auditing, but all he had to do was write down on a piece of paper. Yeah, I put this drug in, I swirled it around with my finger, I gave it to her, I watched it touch her lips, and then I waited it out until she was unconscious, and I fucking fucked up as a man.
I mean, they had all the information. Let's not explain ourselves. They definitely had all of the information, and they definitely did not report it to authorities. But I have done things personally myself where I reported it to my authority, which was my Scientology ethics officer. And then I was handled the same way that Danny was probably handled, but he was handled with kid gloves because he was on a TV show. He was allowed to enter CC Underground. He was allowed to go to the special, right? So
Yeah,
I
the
was at
special
PC. He
entrance.
was in the CCCC, like, right? So there's layers of who you're involved with, who's handling you, and how much handling you're getting. So I
No.
was having things happen that maybe should have been reported, weren't. That's fine. But at the same time, adults should have done that, period.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to ask Jeff, do you know about if California has the mandatory reporting laws like we do here in Michigan? Say if you're a school, someone in a position of authority, like a minister, something like that, a hospital, any kind of organization or position that would
You have
put
to be
you.
a mandated reporter.
Yeah,
and
it's
they are not
mandatory.
mandated
You have those in
reporters.
California?
Oh yeah,
I'm a
there's
mandated reporter.
yeah,
Okay.
there's mandated reporting laws, but in terms of religion, no. And then because without that with the Catholic Church, there was
Okay.
no reporting there. There were cover-ups.
It's
So
the
it's a
opposite.
question
It's
is
priest and penitent
yeah,
confidentiality.
privilege. But yeah, the question, Poe, if we can think in terms of law enforcement, even if there's laws in place, they have to be enforced.
Right.
So
Correct.
Scientology believes it's above WOG law, and therefore L. Ron Hubbard policy prevails. So even if there was, they claim priest penitent, but they put so much of that information out on hate websites, out of PC folders. They've done that. That's been proven. That's been proven over and over and over. So they don't enforce the law. They don't have mandated reporters. It's all Scientology doctrine. It's a rigged game. You're never going to win. It's like
Yeah.
it's
Right.
like a rigged
And they're
casino.
safe pointing the celebrities. So
Yeah,
even if
yeah.
you're a lower celebrity than a higher celebrity, it's almost like who's more celebrity is how you get treated well.
Correct.
Yeah, and that's
It's being
Yeah.
exposed,
Twisted.
though, right?
And
Mhm.
Naomi says the fact that someone is sitting across from Danny and accepting that he would be admitting to his crime and it being okay, that's effed up. How can someone listen to it and not lose it? I can tell you that there were a number of times I've been across the table from people who were SAs. I've had, I've had folks who've done it on minors. And the fact is I literally had to sit there and deal with it and be professional, stoic, take the information, and then go out and probably break a knuckle putting my hand through the wall. But I had to sit there and I had to listen to it. And, I would say that someone in that position in Scientology is probably looking at it the same way. That's their job. That's what they have to do. So, Liz, what would you
Yeah,
got
because
for
from
us?
the time that you're a kid, for most of us second generations, we had the TR course, and so that would be more along the lines. We had to do little clay demonstration dolls.
All the diorama stuff?
Yeah, and so you would have to act out someone like being vulgar to your face, and you just be flat. They can, that would be drilled in, especially if you're accepting information. You're just like, you hold that
Children's
shit in the deepest of
concourse.
your gut and just squeeze those butt cheeks and just don't let nothing slip, because otherwise you're going to lower conditions.
Whoa. That's crazy. And Renee Noel, yes, we have corrected that and we've put it out there. So let's see. I'm just trying to catch up on these, and I know that it's been 20 years, but the victims are going to be living with us the rest of their lives, no matter what. They're going to have to be dealing with us. And yeah, it took 20 years to get to that point of justice finally being served. But let's focus on the fact that it has been served, and it's now time that, we start looking forward to the Jane Does being able to start making that step outside of the zone now. They've got justice is there. They know that he's gone. Even if, folks say, well, just 30 years, when that time comes around, he's going to be a senior citizen, most likely. So, he's going to pay for it, and he's going to pay in prison pretty heavily. But, I think our focus shouldn't really be on him. I'm talking to the everybody out there is, our focus should be supporting them, putting out those positive vibes to them. and, you know, letting them know that we care and we appreciate the fact that they were strong and willing to take on this fight. So,
Sure.
yeah,
Absolutely.
you know, so, and this has been pretty, you know, it's a little dark right now talking about all this, but we got to
I
keep
want
going
to hear
on.
some stuff from you because this is our
Me?
first live together, and you have quite the credentials.
I'm a boring old man. I have no idea what you're talking about.
Nope, not falling for it, sir.
What do you want to know?
Why are you here fighting on our behalf? What inspires you to discuss Scientology and be part of SPTV?
Well, I'm a third generation law enforcement officer. My grandfather and my father, along with being third generation United States Army. I have spent the majority of my life being in service and protecting those that can't protect themselves. I worked a considerable number of cases in human trafficking. I actually had one of the first ever convictions under the Internet Predators Act that came out. So this has been just the step in that path for me, and it's brought me to this point.
Yeah.
You know, that's what I do. It's always been standing up for those that aren't able to do so for themselves, and this is just the next one for me.
Hey, we appreciate you.
Well, thank you. It's been an honor, believe me. 32 years of something that I truly loved, that fed my children, put a roof over their head, has given me a good retirement. And through the whole time, there were days when I honestly couldn't believe why I was still there. But now, having gone through it and come out this side, I'm proud of every minute I was a law enforcement officer and a member of the United States military. So
thank you for your service.
It was an honor, absolute honor, and very happy, honored that they would even allow me to do it. So, all right, what else you want to know?
I love the look.
I got that good dad look down, so.
For sure. I told him he looks like the actor from Grey's Anatomy, who's like the doctor, who's the war doctor, who's always right there helping.
I've never watched Grey's Anatomy.
Yeah, the redhead on Grey's Anatomy. I was like, you totally
a soulless ginger?
No, he's not. You're not a soulless ginger, though, but, we don't see you cry. You are very tough because of your...
you know what? I'm not that tough. My kids have seen me cry. My wife's seen me cry. I wanted one thing that my children need. I wanted them to show that as that parent, father figure, everybody thinks father's supposed to be stoic. You don't show emotion unless it's anger. No, I wanted my children to know, this is your father. This is who I am. And this is what hurts me. This is also what makes me stronger. Yeah. So, I have no problem whatsoever knowing that my children have seen me cry. What my children have never seen is they've never seen me drunk. They've never seen me out of control. And they always see me take responsibility for my actions. And I want my children, if anything, as long as you pay your bills, you're happy, you take care of the person that you love and you're with, take care of your children, your family. That's all I could ask. I don't care if you're a ditch digger. I don't care if you're hauling garbage for a living. Just be happy and take care of those you love.
Yeah. It seems reasonable because,
It's a certain blessing you get when you've been through a little bit that you just can't help but understand when other people are going through similar struggles or any struggles. So
is that who you're talking about?
Owen Hunt, exactly.
I've never watched Grey's Anatomy. I have no idea.
Now you got to watch it. You're going to have to watch it. You're going to have to see,
oh my goodness,
like, who is this ginger? But if it makes you feel any better, he did play Poseidon in.
Oh, he's like super hot. This is not an insult whatsoever. I mean, he's calling him soulless ginger, which is funny, but I know a lot of soulless gingers, so I do have to give you, always
that's an inside joke with Alex. Till I was about 13 years old, it looked like I had flames on my head. My hair was so red and it was bright. And then about 13, suddenly my hair started going more and more towards almost a walnut color, and that's where it stayed. So, now I'm starting to get the nice little salt and pepper in there too. But 55 years old. What do I care? Going
I've
gray.
dated a scary amount of redheads, and it started with L. Ron Hubbard's grandson, and he actually did have flaming red hair, just like the old grandpa. And then it was a continuum of kind of like wild redheads, and I was like always telling my best friend, I'm not attracted to redheads. And she's like, you're literally lying. Like, you're lying to yourself because you always end up dating redheads.
Yeah.
So, like, I am lying to myself. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But
What was it? Have you guys ever seen the show Justified?
yeah.
There's the part where they're asking the lead actor, and are you scared? He goes, look, the only things that scare me, and he was going down the list, and he goes, redheads. So, that
There's something about you guys. And Liz, you're a redhead too, no?
No.
Strawberry blonde. Blonde,
Nope.
blonde.
Yeah, I'm blonde.
Yeah, you
Kind of have that redhead coloring.
I have that red face because I did get a little sunburnt this weekend. But no, I do have the red coloring too on my skin.
Oh, and quite a few people have made sure in chat. I also have delivered 6 babies. So,
Wow.
Holy moly.
Yeah, that's a real. It's unbelievable. But when you know what you're going to, oh my goodness, you're about to freak out. So, give me a shootout, give me a burglary, give me a drunk driver. I can handle them any day of the week. Something like that. Oh my gosh, I'm just but it's one of those where you literally switch off and do what you have to make sure you get everything taken care of. So, and Candy's Life wants to make sure that Jeffrey says hello to his beautiful wife, Karen, for her.
Oh, I'll do that. Thank you, Candy's Life.
Yeah.
And
how is Miss Karen de la Carriere doing tonight?
She's doing great. She is doing great.
Yeah.
She's running the gallery so I can be on the show.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got to get her on here. So we have amazing phone conversations. I can't wait to get her on here and start bouncing questions off of her like on the phone calls. So that
some of these things we got to just stop having phone calls and start having lives, because all day long we're all talking on the phone, and we got to just get on live.
Yeah, and sometimes our phone calls are
good.
Yeah, I know they're very good. I talked to Liz and Vanessa, and I was thinking, too bad we can't go live. Maybe we could, hook up. We should be ready. But yeah, a lot of the calls comparing things are very interesting.
Well, that and Facebook messaging.
Yeah.
So
it's SPTV versus this little logo up here.
Yes, ma'am.
It's like a really interesting reality show for those who understand what's going on, I think, because even our closest supporters have said that. We're not in a trashy way or anything, just like as a social observing experiment almost that's completely unregulated. Like mind control gone wild.
Think about it, with all the different genres, topics, different ways of life. How many of them they start turning into these boiling masses of hatred for everybody in there? And then you come to SPTV and everybody's open, welcoming. They want to bring you in. They want to be supportive of you. They want you to get yourself on the track that you need to be on. Yeah, totally. So it's strange for a lot of people. And I've said it from day one. That's the kind of community I want to build through my channel. Is come in here, be who you are. If you've got burdens, bring it. Let the rest of us help shoulder those burdens for you. But, everybody be positive, be supportive, and that, there's no judgment. That's what I want.
And keep them in there because of fear too. I mean, so much of commerce is based on fear, and purchases are based on fear, and auditing is based on fear, and us versus them. So it's cool to know that there are people who just want to empower you out here. It's not bad out here in that WOG world.
Yeah.
Right.
Let's see. Barb says the letters that she's read so far are so over the top and bizarrely familiar. I take it that's from the trial.
Witness, probably. I think she's talking about Witness, because Witness was reading them on the
and the thing is that you're talking about people who came into Danny's life a decade after all that went down. And so they may not know that Danny.
Who?
The people who were writing letters for him of support and everything.
No, they knew him. I mean, Ashton and Mila have known him forever.
Oh, have they? I did.
Yeah, since that 70s show, they were like
Right.
14 or something.
Okay.
Well, 14 and Mila was 14.
And why
He was
is
19.
the husband's the wife of the husband, Billy Baldwin, it's a very odd person to like choose to throw yourself into the situation because you're married to his wife's sister.
Yeah. And, but I mean, the Baldwins, they're such, sound, level-headed people to begin with. So
I know their ethical scale is like, so here we have like robbers in New York that will hit an old lady. And then you got a Baldwin, right?
Hey, not everybody is bad because, he did something good. He got this little troll off the internet. So I think with every little good and bad, we take a little good, we take a little bad, we meet in the middle. He got this wacky troll that Jeff and I have like literally met online just through this community. Baldwin got him taken, off, stopped harassment and everything. And that's pretty impressive to me. So,
wow.
Hey, they can do good things.
That's a strength.
So stepping into different categories here, Miss Vanessa, what's been going on with you as of late? Have things starting to ease up on you a little bit there?
They have actually.
Excellent.
They were very intense for quite a while.
Oh yeah.
And there was a lot of in-person just type of intimidation type stuff that is very well documented at this point, but not worth sharing until whatever, because you know how it goes.
Oh,
so that being said, there's been a lot of that since Liz and I went out to Gold Base and Jeff went out to Gold Base. There's been a lot, and that's their point. But it doesn't, if you just expect it, it's like whatevs.
Yeah.
And then I just expect it and it's like whatevs. So I don't know.
Well,
so I'm just living my life, but I am working. I work at a really intense psychiatric environment. So it's kind of funny to me that it actually I feel like I actually am safer at work than with these weirdos who are following me, even though I'm working with people who are going through mental health crises, coming straight from jails, things like that. And yeah, so it's bizarre that my own ex cult scares me more than anyone suffering a real mental health crisis. But I enjoy it. I enjoy the work I do. So
it's excellent. Excellent. Yeah, and Vanessa and I have talked many times and talked about what's been going on and in the background about what's been going on with her. And yeah, it's understandable. There's a lot of pressure. There's a lot of fear that comes in with that. I'm just a different breed. It's very hard to intimidate me. And you guys have already heard the story about when I found someone was following me. I don't care. All my neighbors know me. They know about me. They know who I am and what I am, and the minute that these folks go knocking on their doors, they're basically getting the middle finger and told to get off their property. So we don't, I don't care. Those kinds of things don't bother me. And if someone out there wants to claim that they're that good and that they want to, they'll come and they'll kick my hind end, bring it. I'm not that hard to find, and don't sit there and talk crap about you went to, you better hope it's not one of those open carry states. I carry in every state. I'm a retired police officer. I'm nationally allowed to carry in every state. So I really don't care. I'm 55 years old. I should have been dead 30 years ago. And
every day's a blessing. I remember you told me that when we first spoke, and I just really remembered that. And I think that's why you're so heroic in your actions and your willingness to stand up to bullies, because bullies don't have the backbone usually. Right? You have the backbone.
My experience, they're all talk.
Yep. I was a professional mixed martial arts fighter. I was a master catch wrestler. I've heard people talking about their training and all that. Years of Muay Thai training, years of, very aggressive submission based grappling. I don't care. what, you're gonna hurt me, you're gonna kick my butt. It's not
Mhm.
like it's the first time it's ever happened, or it's the last time it'll ever happen.
Mhm.
I can lick my wounds and make my way home. I don't worry about things like that. So, you know, meh, I don't. So, Miss Liz, other than having that shirt that I want so bad and
I
that Harry
know.
Potter blanket behind you,
Yeah, you're all gonna laugh. I made that blanket.
did you really?
I did.
See,
My significant
Amazing.
other taught me how to do the little twisty ones. Yeah, I
that's
made the
awesome.
blanket.
I took my kids to every book release and every midnight showing of every one of the movies when that was all coming out. We were huge Harry Potter buffs, and they would go to sleep with me reading them Harry Potter every night. So,
I understand because
oh yeah,
I got that first book and I was like, this isn't going to be a good book. Here, let me just read the first chapter. Read the first chapter. I'm like, should have got an hour till class.
yeah,
Can I get the second one in? You're trying, and then once I read it, I was hooked. And then when I found out there was a British version, which is a less dumb, as they put it, a dumbed down version,
right.
I was like, yeah. So, had to fly out to Europe and go get some copies of the British version. And then as they came back out, I was like, okay, I'm getting just the British version.
Yeah,
So yeah, I love Harry Potter.
it's there. They can be somewhat, because of pronunciations and different names that they call things. But if you know the wizarding world, you're going to know it. It's not going to be that difficult for you. So, yeah, I prefer the British versions myself also. So
Yeah,
that's what we listen
they're
to on
good.
Audible. Let's see here, getting back through some of these. So what else is going on? I got to ask you, getting to the base and seeing your father there. That must have been a kick in the gut.
Well, I didn't get to see my dad.
Oh, you didn't? Okay.
I did not
thought
get
you
to see
got
my
to
dad
see
because that's been this whole challenging situation. We went to the front gate. I announced myself. I even used my formal name. I'm Elizabeth Ferris. I'm his daughter. And then we waited and waited and waited. Then come to find out that if we didn't leave, they were going to trespass us. And then even though we did a welfare check, their trespassing us was more significant. Then turn around and, before they trespass us or offer him the chance of a restraining order, because get a restraining order. I'm trying to prove
that in the recording. I mean,
Yeah.
it was all intimidation tactics, right? I mean, it felt like it.
Yeah, it was literally, that whole conversation was meant to do everything it could to dig and hurt me. And as much as I hate to admit it, that some of those words hurt, like they burned. I'm coming from a place that I thought my dad was dead. I thought the reason that, and let me not glorify it, everybody. I did not have a great childhood with my dad, but for some reason I was still a daddy's little girl. Like he was my world. Even if I only got to see him once every couple of years, that one time was just so monumental to me that he was my world. And that, and I had a bad other parent. So he's got to be better than that. So then you turn around and I'm like, oh my God, he's alive. He's alive. Like he's not dead. And at first you're just like, no way. I need to see this. I need to see his body. Yeah. I need to see him physically or touch him. And then come to find out it's like the biggest nightmare of, not nightmare because we're trying, but it does feel like a nightmare because it's like he's so close, yet I can't touch him. He's so he's just over that stupid fence. God, for the love of baby Jesus, would you just come out and just say, hey, I want to stay. Hey, I don't want to be your dad. Or, hey, I love you. Please help me. Because if I'm not going to get
a bit of closure, like if her dad wants to show his face, she just has been told he was dead for so long. and
Yep.
we have not been able to confirm. We've been denied. She's been denied for body cam footage. She's been
Yep.
denied for
I
footage
don't
of everything.
I don't understand how they can refuse the body cam footage. That
Well,
should be
I
free.
am working on
Okay.
it, but right now I'm being told, per the signed letter, I'm being told that it is an open investigation.
That's going to
So
be they're out on that. How much more
For
open
how
how much
long?
more does it have to be open? They know he's alive. They know where he's at. That's case closed. I mean,
that's what I thought, but the paperwork literally says, an open investigation. And then for the body cam, it's due to officer safety. I could give a rat's ass what the officer looks like. I
officer
don't care.
safety.
Yeah.
Officer safety.
Did the officer show up in plain clothes or was he in uniform?
I have no idea.
They said uniform.
They
about the
said
start date.
uniform, but as
Yeah.
far as what he really was wearing,
No, I think they said uniform.
The only time I've ever seen that be applicable is for SWAT team members and undercovers.
Yeah.
That's the only time I
well, I am running
personal
another
advice-
situation where I'm trying to get something. We're trying a different route.
Okay.
And I've got my fingers, my toes crossed, and hopefully,
If that
I mean,
doesn't
she's
work,
being
I
very
would say
positive
try
right now.
the
It's been
attorney
hard.
general. Try them and ask for an opinion from the attorney general as to the fact that they're refusing you the body cam footage. So
yeah, well,
Jeffrey, you might be
that
able to
can
help with that a
definitely
little
be
bit more
my
than me.
next course of action. But
So, and
Well,
we have to try this way first, and
Yeah.
I'm trying to stay positive. I don't
And if you
want.
didn't
yeah,
see,
I would
we've
try
got-
that way.
Yeah.
But Chief, when an agency stonewalls you, a couple of things strike me.
That's all red flags to me.
Yeah, absolutely. Sometimes, when people scream and protest, like the day we were out there, and what they told Liz, it was very cruel. Scientology is very much a culture of emotional blackmail, taking hostages, playing takeaway. They'll take your family away from you. If it's takeaway. We're going to take away your father from you if you don't comply. And then when you have an agency and when you have an agency stonewalling, that is a giant red flag.
Yeah.
I've dealt with different law enforcement agencies, and when they want to stonewall it, you have to go, like I said, you said, to the attorney general, but you
Mhm.
try all your legal ways first, and then you might have to sue the agency or
Yeah,
get
it's
publicity.
that's
But
why I
this should,
say that's why I
we're
think
so happy to have your opinion, honestly, Poe, because you do know this
Yeah.
stuff. We've been trying.
that's why I would go with the
for
attorney
a
general
while now.
attorney general in my situation. Now you're going to do what you feel is best for you, and I support you 100%.
yeah, and
But
there's
the
this
reason why I say that is because the attorney general is, it's not an expensive option to go that route. You can literally write the letter yourself requesting the attorney general's, opinion on that. And that might be enough to force the hand of the agency. So that's why I look at that as like filing a police report. It's free. You can do that, and then you may have to go, as Jeff said, you may have to go the civil route to force them through, some kind of tort that's going to make them open up the records and show you what's going on.
yeah.
And
I'm
didn't
not
notice, we
against
got,
anything at this point.
yeah,
Right now it's
we have options, but
oh yeah. Plus,
the Riverside County Sheriff is not being cooperative.
I can
And,
guarantee you that Jeffrey writes a much better letter than I do. I'm good at talking
Yeah.
it, but he's got a
No,
little more intelligent base there than I do.
yeah, but you need someone else other than me.
And if you didn't see, we've got Marilyn Babs
Yeah.
double tap Honig in here tonight.
Yeah.
So she says
Yeah.
only
I was watching the live when you gave her that nickname. That was hilarious.
yeah, see,
Yeah.
and it's all out of love. Her and her husband Duncan are just great people. She has a great channel. She does a lot of stuff for a lot of folks. And it's just playing back and forth. Like I keep telling her, I want proof of life that Duncan's still there.
I saw the hand bring the coffee in today, so that's at least some man. I can't verify it's Duncan. He might be topless. The other night, I was telling Laura that we were really being distracted from what we're supposed to be doing, like topless men just feeding us grapes all the time. And she goes, "Why do they have to be topless? Why can't they be fully nude?"
You know what? That's out of my realm there. So,
Right.
let's
That
see.
that would not be in my wheelhouse.
Free Xenu Project. Poe, ask Liz about how the sheriff told her he talked to him on the phone. He sounded old. It's
Yeah.
him.
Yeah. So that's part of the story. So he's like, I talked to your father, and I was like, okay, are you sure it was him? Yes, he sounded old on the phone. Yeah, because he's the only old man within a 1,000-mile radius, right? Because he's the only one that sounds old. Like, it was the stupidest thing I'd ever heard of in my
Jeff, you're
entire
good.
life.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, Jeff's gonna slide out for a minute here. So
Okay. And then, turn around, and the next one's like, you're an illegitimate child. He's not ready to meet you. Anything that they could come up with, like the idea that he's never met me, when I have pictures of him at my birth, when I have pictures of him, holding me as an infant, like, you never met me. It's like these lawyers that work for Scientology can't come up with a better story. Like, hey, we had a falling out. No, we didn't. But, hey, they had a falling out. They just want some time.
right.
No, you're just going to lie. I'm just going to come after you harder. Like, now you piss me off. We go out there, and I'm trying not to cry because that sentence just gutted me. And then we all of a sudden get these 2 whistles back to back. And I'm like, please don't tell me I just fucking imagined that. So I wait again, thinking that maybe this shit's in my head. Whistles again. So I whistle back. Whistles again. It was a total of 3 different times. And there's 2 whistles that he would do. I did 2 whistles back. So it was, let's not do the math. We can see how many whistles were there. But that was the first chance of hope I ever got, because he used to whistle twice to me when I was in the bloody trees in front of AOLA. And that's American, wow, I just about did that wrong. But that's one of the orgs in Los Angeles on Hubbard Boulevard. Wow. But I remember that because he had a very distinct whistle that you can hear from like a great distance.
And they did video of their interaction when they finally got over there, didn't they?
We videoed?
Yeah, body cam
We were
video
told
from the officers.
they did. Liz was told.
We were told. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Oh hell no. Kelly was asking if they did that. Now, if it's like any department that I've worked with, if body cameras are part of the department, you wear them when you're working.
I thought it was
you turn them off
at any point in time that you're working, you're supposed to be doing, tapping that on button, and
it's all department policy. I've always been the kind that, as a chief, you're gonna have it on. You're gonna have that thing recording from the moment you step out the front door of the police department. But other agencies, they allow you to turn them on and off. So
my actual favorite thing to watch is LAPD body cam footage. They release it all the time, and it's every time that there's a weapon discharge or something like that, they are releasing it, and it's fascinating.
The new tasers have a camera built into the taser itself. So it's pretty wild.
It's so interesting from every single perspective of just this psychological experience,
Oh yeah. And thank you, Em, from Brisbane, Australia. Been talking to Apostate Alex and a few other people. We're going to do a stream around the world where we're going to have people from several different countries, and we're going to move it to a time that's not a USA friendly time, but a time where our friends in Australia, Southeast Asia, some of them that I know from the Middle East and from Eastern Europe, those are their time. So we're going to be on at that time, so they all feel included as well.
It would be The Sun Never Sets on SPTV.
There you go. Well, it's not just going to be about SPTV. I've got I've got a couple of friends from Thailand, Indonesia, Japan. Then we've got some folks from the Middle East. We've got Apostate Alex from London. So we're trying to, it's a stream around the world. So
sure. That's a great
we
idea.
haven't set the date yet, but I'll let you know when we're going to do it. So
cool.
Yeah.
You know,
During the anonymous protests, we called them raids. Raids. The first one it started, I believe, in Australia, but the raids went consecutively around the globe, and we were covering them online, and it was amazing to see the progression of the raids around the world. And they didn't go on all at once. Obviously, they were time zone dependent,
right.
but it was amazing because as New York was winding down, we were starting the one here in LA.
What do you
That's
mean by
awesome.
raids? Explain it to
Oh,
the
well,
crowd.
anonymous. The protests were called raids. That was just a term of art, right? They were actually protests, but we called them raids just for fun. And the first raid here in Los Angeles, the famous bass guitarist Billy Sheehan, who's a Scientologist, he actually sat out in front of LA Day or Pac Base. It's Big Blue, okay? So
Any of them. It's ASHO, AO,
Big,
LA.
well,
It depends what part of the street you were on.
if you're a non-Scientology local, we just say that Scientology building or Big Blue. If you know the lingo, it's like Pac Base. But
It's
anyway,
very
Billy
specific.
Sheehan, yeah, it's funny the nomenclature because there's a lot of orgs within Big Blue. So you have ASHO and AO and things like that. When I want to talk about hipster talk, just to digress for a minute, hipster talk. I was talking to this guy a couple of years back, and we were talking about the late Kirstie Alley, and he said, "Oh yeah, Kirstie Alley. The last time I saw her was in the AO lounge, or was in the Knots lounge at the AO." So if you didn't know what the Knots lounge was at AO, that's Scientology speak, and that is so esoteric. And that just simply means Advanced Organization Los Angeles, AOLA. Knots Lounge is where you do solo knots, where you're going there. So, but anyway, Billy Sheehan was out there holding a sign saying, "I'm a Scientologist. I will talk to anyone about anything." And of course, security had to come and immediately snatch him away because there's no fucking way in hell they were going to allow Billy Sheehan, an international rock star, to talk to anyone about anything. So that was the one glimmer of hope I had, that if I thought if Billy Sheehan was willing to talk, who else? And that was not to be. So
I was told to stay inside and don't go to the org that day. We were going to be experiencing an attack. We had a heads up.
Wow. You were told, Karen was there, and they put everyone, there's tunnels under Big Blue because it spans across the street, so everyone was down in the tunnels. And what was funny back then, and a kind of a Romeo Juliet story, I don't know, wrong side of the tracks, whatever you want to call it. I was Jay Swift. I've been writing under that name since 2005. I was a well-known critic, and my future wife, Class 12 CS, was under the tunnels. So I was above the ground protesting, and she was under the tunnels. But look how love can encompass that. So later,
Romeo and Juliet.
It dug its way out of the tunnel.
Well, what's funny is if you remember, and I'm dating myself, but our younger guests might know. Do you remember the show Green Acres?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I love that.
So the premise was that there was a lawyer, and he was married to a socialite, and she was played by Zsa Zsa Gabor, or was it Ava?
Yeah, it was Zsa Zsa.
Okay, Zsa Zsa Gabor. Yeah. So he wanted to go move to a farm, and they were in Hooterville, rural place. So it's like Karen, grew up in London, went to a French school, was multilingual, world traveled, and I could go live on a ranch. I would go. Yeah. So we're sort of like that. Karen's sophisticated, and her accent's very unique. Her father was French. His name, it was Guy de la Carrière. And I'm from LA, never left LA because I never had any reason to leave. Like, you could make money out here, and there was so much to do, and I'm a third generation, like I said, Angelino. So it never occurred to me to leave LA. I mean, I've traveled, but we live here in Los Feliz, and I would rather sometimes just move out to a ranch.
I understand completely. I've married way above my pay grade, so
yeah. Well, Karen goes, she traveled over to London for an event, and I forget what it was. she traveled on Virgin Atlantic, and so we always we have a home. We run a couple of businesses, so you always have to have someone here. But yeah, I mean, I traveled for 30 years in business, so my idea of vacation is not traveling. I don't really enjoy traveling anymore like I used to. But I've got some travel plans ahead,
I
and they're going to
love
be
travel.
interesting. And then there's also capering, doing PI stuff.
Mhm.
And I've got a really fun case. Well, actually, let me switch to blogging. Just an update. Have you guys been following this story I've been covering for years, the GPB Capital out of New York?
No, I
Well,
haven't.
GPB Capital is a Ponzi scheme. It's owned by a Scientologist named David Gentili. And
I know that name.
it's a $1.8 billion Ponzi scheme. Now,
Why can't I come up with stuff like that? I mean, come on.
Because you don't want to wear orange.
Yeah, I'm just
Look,
smart
Yeah.
enough. I run.
I walked
So-
away from the criminal syndicate. Okay, you can too. Don't be jealous of the criminal syndicate.
Like I live so long on this side of it, sometimes you wonder about how green that grass is on the other side. So
For
Well,
sure.
I'll give you a crime update on this. David Gentili and his colleagues Jeffrey Snyder and Jeff Lash, they defrauded 17,000 investors of $1.8 billion, and they were protesting their innocence. And then the FBI raided them.
now, who were the brothers, and one of them
Oh,
actually ended up ending himself, and they were
twins.
running some kind of
Yeah.
MML or something like that,
Yeah.
MLM or whatever they call that, multi-level marketing.
Was that the Water Vegas guys?
Were they like chiropractors or something like that? One of them ended up ending himself. So
There's been a lot.
Well, there's
Yeah,
Jeff and Jay
there's quite a few
Spina.
that do that.
Yeah, there's Jeff and Jay Spina, but
Oh, I think that's who it was.
yeah, I don't.
Okay.
Did one of them end themselves? I don't.
I'm not
One
sure.
of them was waiting for sentencing, and
Yeah,
one of them's in prison already.
Mm.
Sometimes it's easy to get your Scientology criminals confused.
Oh, I know.
Because like I say,
mean,
it's like
I know
air
one
traffic
who
control.
somebody had met. Yeah, there's quite a few.
yeah.
I think what happens is people actually do get lured into that, and then they realize there's no way out. And sometimes they do have a lot of bad investments, and they really just, this was our culture. I mean, what were they going to do? They had to make a lot of money to afford their bridge or whatever,
Yeah.
and then
I just
Yeah,
want to
there's
make a
a-
lot of
And
money to own a house on a private island. I should be allowed that too. Now, Liz, I don't know. They're saying about this. Candy's Life was asking about whether or not the footage be redacted. Jeff, can they do that? I didn't think that they could redact it.
Well,
They can mute the volume.
yeah, they can do a lot of things, because sometimes you have to go back repeatedly. So I would expect them to give you the minimum they have to, because in my experience, getting documents, working with lawyers and as a PI too, they're going to give you the minimum that they're legally required to give you. Then you have to fight, and they're going to make you fight
Right.
and fight and fight to get everything and hope you give up. That's what happens with uncooperative agencies. So I'm looking, well, like this document with Danny Masterson, the court had to redact heavy parts of it. One is from a doctor, so I understand that because of HIPAA. But yeah, to your point,
that's
that body cam
Yeah.
footage will likely be redacted, or they'll take the audio out. And look, the one thing it's hard to argue with, Chief, is and this is something that agencies can do, is say we have to protect our officers. And like, how are you going to argue with that? Because you look bad trying to say, well, no, I want it, and like, we have to protect our officers.
Yeah,
and it's sort of like one of those things, like you look bad fighting it. Like you have to say, well, I don't want your officers protected, but that's not what you're saying. So there's some things that
it never works out in the PR world when it comes to that stuff. When you start doing that, it looks like you got something to hide. And that's why I've always been big about transparency within law enforcement. It's got to be there. That's absolutely ridiculous.
It does. And here in LA, I've had some run-ins with LAPD. They can be cooperative, or they can just be a stone wall.
Yeah.
It just depends on the situation and what's at stake. So that's why you get attorneys involved. And sometimes that's your only recourse. And I'm have a case. And I'm pro law enforcement, but I just know when an agency with Scientology is involved down a riverside. They've had a long-term involvement. They have a 9-hole golf course at the base that they use to save point Scientology, and they allow local community groups, politicians, the police to use the clubhouse and the golf course.
That's why I've said it probably 1,000 times. When you are someone in command or in that position to start being able to take those kinds of, I don't know what you call them, gifts or whatever, you really, I've always made it very clear. Anyone who wanted to donate to the department, we appreciate it. But when the time comes, if I have to, I'm doing my job. Do not expect more. Do not expect less. I'm going to do my job. And I made that very clear. But, especially with larger agencies, you're eventually going to find that one person who's susceptible to it.
Yeah.
And shame on you, Vanessa. It looks like you've got Jen now going down the rabbit hole of the LA body cams.
I love it. And you know what? There's going to be bad actors in every single everything. Like LAPD has a very extensive, extremely interesting history of corruption, but also just in general in everything. In SPTV, in any place in the world, there can be bad actors, and we're just humans. So.
I just want to make sure this isn't Marilyn logging in under Duncan's name.
No, it's fake.
Hey, Duncan, good to have you here tonight, brother. And he's a really good sport. So
he's such a nice man.
Maybe given my human, you're probably talking about the human trafficking background, or it says algorithm on my eval scale. I have no idea. Do you guys know what that means? It says given your human transport background algorithm.
Yeah, so it means like where does it fall on your evaluation scale? That's like Scientology's, shorthand.
Right. It's Scientology speak. Southern California is, if it's pertaining to human trafficking, it's like any border state, but it's a little bit more popular because there's such a huge population base right outside of the border there. And they're all bad right now. We have it especially bad because we have Canada, which is our border here. So you have a lot of folks that are going in through Canada that are trying to get into the United States that way. I've said it before. We have this junction in Detroit where we have I-75, 94, 275, Michigan 23, US 23, US 24. We have all these highways converge in the Metro Detroit area, and they all fan out across the state and into Canada. So then you have the Detroit River, Lake Erie. We have, just these huge bodyways that all that comes through. So that's been my focus on it, especially since I work here. But I know about Southern California and the fact that, yes, there is heavy human trafficking through there as well, but also Texas, Arizona, any state that's a border state is going to have that. So,
so in terms of how do you compare, what Scientology is doing?
How Scientology is doing.
Humans and children in through,
religious worker visas.
I think California, period, because California is so heavily saturated with COS and their different bases, organizations, those different kinds of things going on. I think Southern California is like a mecca to it. So I wouldn't be surprised. Clearwater has everything going on there with flag and all that, but I think California is much more heavily saturated. Michigan, we don't have hardly anything. We've got the Detroit org. That's about it. So I don't think California has a good history of dealing with Scientology. Not at all. And it's situations like Liz's where, you've done nothing wrong. Why are you being punished?
I have no idea.
And that's the thing. Jeffrey, how many times have you been stonewalled? Why are you being punished? Why does this organization get this kind of protection? And so, I would say on that point, I'd say it's failing in the areas that are around those bases or the different orgs, and how that they're treating anyone who stands up to it. So,
one of the answers, there's a couple of ways to split this out. Here's how the hierarchy works, and you can connect some dots real quick. On the local level here in LA, you hire the best criminal defense attorneys, you hire lawyers who specialize in different things, right? So that's your first layer of defense, is
Wait,
to get a
who
lot of
does?
lawyers. Pardon me?
Who does? The church
Well,
or?
yeah, the Church of Scientology. I'm talking about. Think of concentric rings of defense. Okay,
Mhm.
and this is how Scientology works at local, national, international level. First, in the U.S., they have the First Amendment religious protections. Okay. Second layer, they sign contracts. All the members have to sign contracts that put them into arbitration.
Oh, yeah.
Third, they have lawyers who are all experts in their field, whether it's criminal defense, intellectual property, contract law, whatever. And so when somebody wants to do something, they can force them into binding arbitration. They also have an ability at the org level to handle people and threaten them. Handling, you were mentioning, Vanessa and Liz, handle this situation. That means, look, if you push this, we're going to disconnect you from your family. You'll be thrown out of the church. You won't have a job. You'll face fair game. So there's threats and intimidation. And then they network with the police organizations. They network with human trafficking organizations through front groups. There's a couple of fake. Scientology is big on human rights. What I mean by that is defrauding the human rights movement.
Mhm.
Human rights.
Rights, yeah. Yeah, and they work at the UN. Look, it's easy to go into the UN and get a title and donate some money. And so they go through these phony interfaith groups, and they work with phony human rights groups that they often finance. So they're amorphous. They can be shape-shifting. They can get lawyers anywhere. They can pretend to be, they have hired cult apologists. So they're in the interfaith movement. They're in these human rights groups that are fake. They infiltrate them if they can't get in. So you have to think that you have an Office of Special Affairs with a big budget that operates 24/7 that has numerous operatives. Two operatives I exposed. One was a Colombian police general, General Mina Bravo, who actually came to know Scientology when they put the ship down in the 2000s. The free ones had to be retrofit, and they made some connections with the Colombian police. General Mina Bravo was cultivated, and I have a picture of him with Tom Cruise. This is how important Mina Bravo was, Chief and Liz and Vanessa. He was so important because he was in charge of Interpol for Colombia. That gave him access to Colombian computers, and that's why he got to meet Tom Cruise when Tom Cruise was making his film about the drug smuggler.
Who was the general who got demoted or fired for giving a medal to? I think it was.
This was Mina Bravo, and then he was later arrested. After he retired, he gave David Miscavige that medal for saving humanity. I mean, it was just ridiculous. David Miscavige took the ship to Barbados, and then they had his ceremony, right?
Wow.
And then but he had access by cultivating General Mina Bravo, who I believe is a corrupt official, and that's some documentation, and it's on my blog. They were able to have access to Interpol files through Mina Bravo because there were cases pending in Brussels and in France and Spain. And so they could see, but that's why they do it. So they have a high level ability to get to people like that. Then they got another police general in one of the other South American countries. So in the US, it's a little bit harder. You can buy influence. They went into the city of London and they used Tom Cruise to infiltrate the city of London in 2005. Superintendent Kevin Hurley of the City of London Police, which is not London. It's the City of London Police. It's a financial center, a lot of money laundering. So what I've done over time is I built up a network, money laundering, religious worker visas. I even found Russian mob money going into GPP Capital Holdings to open it. So this is much bigger and sophisticated. And this is why why I say Scientology also has the ability to hire PIs anywhere and to hire fixers and to hire a lot of specialists.
They have the means, the motive.
Yeah.
I mean, why would they not? Like, we're literally a drop in the bucket to their budget of money.
And let's also remember, there are companies that literally, that's what they do. They
Yeah.
get paid by stars, companies,
Yeah.
and things like that. That if something happens and it's a negative kind of output for them, they hire these companies. They go out and they start this mass bombing through social media and things like that, trying to turn the issue or trying to get everyone to look at something else.
They're doing like these
Mhm.
interesting things on bullying, anti-bullying too.
Mhm.
Like every kind of good cause, they just corrupt it and make it weird. It's
Yeah,
really
they'll try to
dark.
infiltrate it.
Yeah.
Like Denim Day. Taryn Tosh,
Yeah.
Mike Rinder's
Yes,
daughter, went to
exactly.
Denim Day to try to infiltrate into the movement, and she got a picture with Gretchen Carlson, who really launched the Me Too movement in many ways with her lawsuit against Fox. And fortunately, we knew someone who knew Gretchen, and she got their picture taken down off Twitter, right?
Wow.
But you're right. So when you have that much money and ability to infiltrate, it's a lot more complex than you think.
Yeah.
So the people like us who are out in front, it's not a tiny handful of people like the churches say. It's actually Western culture repudiating the tyranny of this church. And that's the rational thing to do, is to oppose the tyranny of Scientology, because it is a corrupt criminal organization. And it has a lot of tentacles everywhere, a lot of front groups. So we can get the obvious stuff. And I've been able to get some of the more subtle stuff along with other reporters, investigative journalists, and things. So, Chief, you're dealing with a multinational criminal syndicate that can do a lot of things. So there's a lot of complexity, but I've done a lot of work to connect the dots.
Yeah,
and
I
to
mean,
get
you've got the financial side. Serge Del Mar was trafficked from Mexico to
Yeah.
here and, worked as a
Serge's
child
story.
slave. So he
Yeah.
has the internal experience, but we're just kind of like, hi, where's the FBI? Like,
No, yeah.
it's a little confusing to us as.
Yeah,
Well, I think that
that's what I
ties
want to
in
know.
with Jen. Jen put this comment up about Boston PD and the marathon. And it's a little bit different on that one, because that one actually the feds came in and took that over. So Boston PD had its own investigation, but once the feds come in, it's theirs. They take everything. So when it comes to the body cam from that, it's different, because the feds are involved with that. We're talking about on the local level with the sheriff's department, local PD, those kinds of things. And they run it's a very different kind of thing. When it's the feds, you ain't getting it. They're going to keep it whether they want you to or not. And they're going to use that investigation as their means to not give it to you. And quite honestly, anything when it's fed, it's not going to happen overnight. It's going to take a while as it is. And Free Xenu, I do not want that job. So
Please take it.
Oh my gosh, there'd be a whole lot of people be heartbroken and have some hurt butts. That's for sure.
Oh, you mean a whole round of firing?
There'd be a lot of people that would be unemployed.
You do not collect $200.
Just call it
I
early
watch
retirement.
so much police true crime on TV, just so much, because I love true crime in general. So watching the behind the scenes with the detectives are so freaking fascinating. It's just
and this is an interesting one for Liz. Jen's journey. I'm 54 years old and disabled. My kids can call multiple wellness checks on me. Why can't you do this? I don't think it's a matter of that. I think it's a matter of
I can do as many as I want, but here's the thing: you have to take into consideration he is on church grounds, and so technically he's on private property.
Exactly.
And unless there's an actual reason for them to arrest him, pull him off the property, anything like that, I don't get the opportunity that a lot of other people would get. He has to come out, and in order for him to come out, he has to, stop digging ditches.
Well, you got Free Xeno's asking if they'd be taken over by the FBI. Folks, you got to remember, it's not illegal for him to be missing. It's not a crime. Once they feel that they've met with him and he's in decent health, it's over. So that's the thing. Liz can call in as many as she wants, but the thing is, will they respond?
Start falling on me.
Yeah. And at some point, go ahead.
Yeah, I want to add in one dimension, Liz. This might help you. In the United States, we have the freedom to believe in any religion we wish as individuals. We also have the freedom to withdraw our allegiance from that religion. So consent belongs to the believer. So your father, Mr. Ferris, He's given his consent to be governed by the ecclesiastical rules and policies of the Church of Scientology Incorporated or Church of Scientology International. So he's consented to be governed by those rules. Now that means the church can take him behind First Amendment protections. There's nothing illegal with him saying, I want to stay on this base. I don't want to be contacted. I don't want to talk to my daughter. As painful as that is, freedom of association allows us to not have to talk to anyone.
Vanessa,
I'm sorry, Vanessa,
can't
your
hear you.
microphone's muted. Vanessa,
Sorry.
microphone. Okay.
You're you're right. It's not a crime, but if they're abusing an elderly man inside, it is. And if he has memory problems, doesn't know who his daughter is, then he can't give consent, right?
Well,
correct. Yeah,
that's something that's got to be. It's got to be more than the accusation of him not being in his right mind and body. Is the officers go there? They're, of course, officers have no actual training to deal with those kinds of things. They go there, they see him, he's talking, he looks like he's cognizant, he knows what's going on and all that. That's all they care about. Is he looks like he's alive, he looks like he's healthy, he looks like he knows what he's talking about.
Share that footage with us then, like,
because they're stonewalling, they don't want to.
I wonder if you, and I think that Vanessa might know more on these grounds, if you filed for something saying that he wasn't cognitive, that he wasn't mentally sound, and you're worried about him. I wonder if that's a avenue you can go down with some kind of documentation. Here in Michigan, you can literally go and fill out a form and have a person committed for a 72-hour check. Can you do that in California?
No, it's not like that here.
No.
Okay.
No, it's extremely hard to have anybody committed. And you don't, you're then Liz doesn't want to be liable for her father who, I'm sure we wouldn't mind rallying around and supporting this man, but first things first, can we just see if he's alive?
And the unfortunate thing is that the way that the sheriff's department or the police department that's handling it, their thought is he is alive, he is sound.
They said they met with him. Yeah. So.
You want me to answer this one?
What's that?
You want me to answer this one from? Okay, L. Jane Clifton Roselle, and I probably butchered it. I'm truly sorry.
Yeah, you're right ahead.
Question: church doors never close during normal hours. I can walk into any church in time of God's house. It's he's never closed. Okay, so you're thinking of whether it's be Catholic or Christianity, or a lot of the other churches. So the only ones that you can technically walk into are the ones that you do courses at or that you get audited. Otherwise, it's like walking into a priest's home. That's not something you can just walk into. There are bases or organizations that are considered private, whether it be their dwelling, whether it be, quite a bit of other things and all other justifications of level of horse shit that you can think of. But the certain bases are not, like, hey, everybody, like you can't just walk into RTC.
Well, it'd be like if you went to Salt Lake City, you couldn't walk into the business offices of the Latter-day Saints Church. That's a non-public area. Could you walk into the public area? Sure. So it's the same way with Scientology. There's public areas and there's non-public areas. And to that point, Jackson.
In the chat. Hi,
hey, Jackson. Thank you for joining us.
Back at you, Jackson.
Hey, buddy.
Here's something interesting. Jim's Joni says when you call a wellness check, it's not the police, it's senior and disabled services. Here in Michigan, it's the police. In
California, it's also the same.
Okay.
A welfare check is done by the police department. You can call and have, social services do another check. And that's what Vanessa and my partner did. I was also told I could file a report. So I did. And basically you file a complaint with APS, Adult Protective Services. And you say, look, this is what's going on. Unfortunately, the person that I got, and I do say that unfortunately, because it felt like a big giant bottle of nothing. It was more along the lines of, hey, he seems fine. I don't need to tell you what he said, but I did offer him your phone number, and he had me hand it to so-and-so. Great.
Yeah.
Yet again, another time that my information is handed over to,
And
you
I
know.
I
could,
mean, I
I
thought
could,
that was very telling. He
Yeah.
couldn't accept it. He had his handler take your information. To me,
Yeah.
that was all the
Yeah.
proof we need that he's being handled.
Yeah.
But and I can tell you from experience here in Michigan, I don't know about California, and Jim's is from Oregon, so they're going to have different laws and different protocol for those things. Here in Michigan, even if you call Adult Protective Services, if you call Children's Protective Services, they're going to fax us a request to go and check it out as police officers. Most of our children and adult protective services here in Michigan are so overwhelmed they can't even go out and do most of their checks on their own.
Mm-hmm.
So they send us a fax. We have to dispatch an officer to go and check it out. So, it's all dependent on where you're from and, if they're able to do it or not. And thank you, Em, for that super. So,
Yeah, but when you have a multi-billion-dollar cult opposing you, and it, in fact, when we were out there, they did tell Liz over the phone that a lawyer had to approve her father even speaking with the police. So you have to remember there's layers of Mr. Ferris is entitled to be a member of his religion. He's entitled not to speak to her. He's entitled to have legal representation. He doesn't have to associate with anyone. And over against that, when he says he doesn't want to talk, are you going to go in for a conservatorship? How are you going to challenge if he's mentally there? So there's a lot of complexities to this. I wish it were easy for Liz to see her father. And I think it goes to the sadism of the Church of Scientology that they're punishing her. They're not allowing you to see your father because they're punishing you, because David Miscavige plays takeaway, just like L. Ron Hubbard.
Jeffrey, you know this firsthand. Look at what they did to your wife when her son passed.
Yeah.
You are an SP, Liz. You are a PTSSP, and you are S.P.A.F. But they're going to make you pay. They're going to do everything they can, but in the end, I'm sorry, but this is all going to come crashing down. There's going to be a lot of people are going to be hurting.
Well, again, this is why Western culture is repudiating the Church of Scientology. That's why there's so much interest in it, because it's a depraved organization. It's a depraved multi-billion-dollar cult. And when it practices fair game, when it does all this sadistic stuff, I made a point in a video I did yesterday about the Jane Does. Early on, Andrew Bretler, Danny Masterson's attorney for the civil cases, said that they were nothing but shameless. They were engaged in a shameless money grab. And that was disgusting. And he said that they had paranoid delusions. And he said they're making a big deal of their cars being unlocked or their trash cans missing. Well, that's gaslighting. It's a form of psychological terrorism to drive them to insanity or suicide. And one thing that one of the Jane Doe said at sentencing on the victim impact statement, she said, some nights she'd go to bed and would say, God, if you're real, please don't let me wake up. That's how bad it is. So this is why we're taking apart the psychological terror and exposing it.
Just to add to that,
Yeah.
I mean, to the point that we're wrapping this in, is they take everything that was ever resembling love, like Liz's father. She just said he wasn't the perfect father. I mean, he chose to join the Sea Org and leave Liz alone for many, many hours. Like, wasn't always remembering her birthday. She still loved him because she knew his pure heart. And same with my parents. I mean, they weren't perfect, but they were not in the Sea Org, and we got a nice like comparatively for being, disassociated from the outside world. I wasn't digging ditches like Liz was, and I remember that love, but they've always weaponized like the only care and unconditional positive regard we've ever gotten against us. And that's exactly what they're doing with Liz's dad. And it's just like the final episode of The Sad Life.
Well, I can tell you that, my father was a horribly brutal man, and he took his anger out on me, and he did it often. When he died, we were good. I told him, I can't shoulder the burden of your hatred and anger. and I can't also hold on to my anger at you. I forgive you. And when he left, we were on good grounds. Liz still has time. You have that ability to make that up. They need to get the hell out of the way and let you reunite with your father.
Urgent. I mean, her
Yeah.
father's not going to live forever. She thought he was dead for almost
Yeah.
20 years. Like, this is urgent. And
that hole in your heart has to be filled. They need to just let you see your dad. We need to keep pushing this out there, keep pushing it in their face, keep making it public. You know, just keep burning them up as much as we can. You know, they may fight back, but you know, the thing is that my hope is that no matter what, before he goes, you have the ability, like I did, to, you know,
to find that closure. I would absolutely love that. Will Scientology throw some nasty things at us first? Yeah. You know,
you're strong.
Well, that's only because I decided to, you know, take back the power. And there are some things that were some triggers for me that I knew would hurt if it came out any way other than via my choice.
Sometimes the best way
we have to out them first
to healing and closure is to open that wound.
And I did. I absolutely did on a live with my friends. And I said, you know what?
That's why
here it is.
100% my support and my respect. So that's,
Liz, since you've come out in this way, your power has surged, your personal power.
And folks,
back.
There are 200 of you in here.
Shows.
If you haven't already, get to Liz's channel and subscribe. Let's get her to 1,000 subscribers.
Hit that like, folks. Hit that subscribe and everything, please.
I'm subscribed.
Absolutely. I've also reconnected with, I've connected with V. She's become one of my main confidants. I talk to her about, you know, everything, which is something I was truly missing in my life. Someone that truly understood me, past and present. I've also reconnected with Serge Obolinski. So I do want to mention him. You know, he meant the world to me as a kid. He was like that big brother that you always wanted as a kid. You know, not to mention he was very, you know, a huge amount of taller than me. So of course you always had to look up to him. But
so sweet. He
is the sweetest man you'll ever meet.
So sweet, so artistic, and Scientology has been ruining this individual's life since day one, and it's just like a highlighted example, but it's definitely not one of the rare ones.
You know, there's a strength there, and like with you, Liz, and you, Vanessa, you know, you handle the dark and come out on the other side brighter, more beautiful. So it's there. And Jeff, Jen was asking about the gaslighting video, and we're also going to be covering that before too long. You got someone that is actually an expert on that, and so folks
I'd like to be part of that. Yeah, Jen, the video is already up. It's the last video I posted. I think it was 18 hours ago, and you go in about halfway into the video. It's contextual, and it has to do with, you know, again, what I mentioned, Andrew Brettler using the media to launch this psychological warfare to castigate the women as party girls after a money grab, colluding. And Masterson even said, because he is such a violent narcissist, he said, when I clear my name, I'm going to destroy them financially. I'm going to take everything from them. Didn't work out that way. And as far as Andrew Brettler, criminal defense attorney here in LA, what I said on my video, and when I say it to get into Mr. Brettler, these women, the jury in the criminal trial did not find that they had paranoid delusions at all. Neither did the judge. Neither, you know, so that's why your client was convicted 30 years to life. And his whole attack was pretty venal. It was vicious. He's getting paid to do a job. He's being paid to destroy these people because the system of law is adversarial. But I get to talk about Mr. Brettler, and I'll just be blunt how he's full of shit. What he was saying in 2020 about these women, he's a disgrace. Yeah. And when he goes to civil trial, I'd like to see him try that with the jury, that these women are full of paranoid delusions. So that's why we have to fight back and oppose this cult. and all their paid assassins. You know, because it's psychoterror. And that's what a point I wanted to make about what they were doing to the Jane Does. They were trying to drive them to insanity and suicide. The gaslighting was a lot more profound than people appreciate, the intensity of it. And as Leah Remini made a point, it's horrific to be violated in that way, NSA. And I'm not taking away anything from anyone that's ever been violated that way. But add to that Scientology fair game and gaslighting designed to drive you to insanity or suicide or get you babbling so that you look like an idiot in front of a court of law. So yeah, we're dealing with a monster. We are dealing with a monster. And Chief, you'll know this from interrogating people. And I'm pressuring people. Interviewing. Okay, I'm sorry. I stand corrected. I must have been thinking about.
I'm not in the CIA now. Come on.
Yeah, must have been thinking about Guantanamo Bay. You know this from interviewing suspects, and I know this from questioning people, conducting interviews, is sometimes people who are the angriest and scream the loudest are the guiltiest. Oh, yeah. And they have a lot to hide because they're screaming and they're making you wrong. And it's like, how dare you question my integrity?
That's how I always know. I would come in. I'm fairly good about reading people.
Yeah.
And, I would come in, and if I come in, they're red in the face, they're screaming, I didn't do this. They can't talk coherently. They can't present an actual basis for what they're saying. 9 times out of 10, they're the ones who did it.
Yeah, Shakespeare wrote it best. Methinks you doth protest too much.
Yeah. Exactly.
And sometimes with Scientology, this is why you have to document everything, take screenshots, because sometimes their lies change. And it's with Scientology, I've been able to put them in a position on my blog where I'll show contrasting statements and I'll ask them, which lie are you sticking with today, Scientology? Which lie are you sticking with?
Yeah.
Well, let's be realistic to try to hit that. They've told so many, I don't even think they know. Hence why the fact that I received a call saying, basically asking for a freeloader debt. And I'm thinking, oh my God, like, how are you going to collect almost 20 years later, trying to figure out, on my finances, do I have the money to do this? And then all of a sudden it's like, wait a minute, 20 years, you can't even collect on anything on my anything credit wise after 7. So then turn around and I'm like, I'm just going to see if their collection policy has changed. Okay. Obviously you guys must've forgot. You told me he was dead.
Yeah.
The click that she gave me after I was like, hey, he's dead, was obviously the realistic portion there, but they don't even know hand over foot what they're lying about.
May I say something, please?
Yeah.
I need to go back to gaslighting definition. So everybody is kind of familiar with that word now because it's a bit of a pop psychology term. I want you to really get, because there's, layers of gaslighting, but what that means is you have created an environment where you created the environment with gas and the light. They can't see through it. They're so confused, right? Because it's literally illegal to manipulate someone that hard that their sense of reality becomes distorted, right?
Isn't it?
Bad actors can do that.
I believe it comes back from the old days with the UFO stuff, where they were saying it was swamp gas that caused the sightings and things like that.
It's from a play, actually. The first time the word came in, and it was about a character filling a room with gas and somebody couldn't get out or something like that. And then they literally compared it and started using those terms because it's such a incredible thing. But when you actually get somebody to question their own reality, we're talking about you are going to go into mental health crisis no matter what.
Yeah. And the word on the street for it would be mind fuck. Just to engage in mind fucking somebody. It's a mind fuck. And
then you don't even call the next morning.
Friesen was asking if it's a criminal charge with gaslighting with the intent to have someone do themselves in. That's going to be each state is its own different laws on those things. Some
The UK
states,
has
Well-
coercive control as illegal.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And then there's
down
also
here.
a civil tort of the intentional infliction of emotional distress. That's why you want to document these things if you're being gaslit. And they tried that on me a long time ago. The things that were abnormal, but I recognize it for what it is. So
Yeah. Rev Girl had a comment. Every time I call about a welfare check, I always prefix my call by saying I'm a mandatory reporter.
Mm.
They seem to take it more seriously. The thing is that, if you're not a mandatory reporter and you're doing that, can you face some kind of charges for representing that you're someone that you're not? So that's something you need to be careful with on those kinds of situations. Now, you may very well be a mandatory reporter, and that you're fully within your rights. Actually, you're mandatorily required to. But the thing is if you're not someone who's a mandatory reporter and then making that statement, you might actually end up in the long run causing more damage to your own case.
yeah.
So it's let's see here, trying to go through the rest of these. So it's someone had a very important question. They wanted to know who was the better bowler when AA1 came to town.
That is a very important question. Do I answer honestly? Is this an interview or an interrogation?
I don't interrogate. I'm not the CIA. We don't call it waterboarding. It's inverted surfing. So,
I'll be honest. Okay, if you were looking at our squad and like who went out to celebrate from that evening, we went to this awesome, lovely old school Hollywood hotel that has a secret bowling alley upstairs. I mean, it's not secret, it's there, but it's kind of private. Like it's a little clubby environment. And we went in, and who would you think would be the best bowler out of our crew just by their outfits?
Aaron.
Yeah, I'd say Aaron. He wears a lot of what we call camp shirts. So,
Is that everybody? Does everybody agree?
No,
Does
I
Jeff
think it would be
agree?
you. I think it'd be you,
Oh.
Vanessa.
That is just like you're just love bombing me now, Jeff.
No, I think
he's
I know. I
gaslighting
think
you.
no, I
Gaslighting
think
me, goddammit.
no, I'm not. I think you're a stealth bowler.
Oh my
I think
gosh.
she might be one of those sleepers.
Not in the AO.
So-
No,
Not in that.
I'm
it
talking
might-
about sleeper as in drag racing, the vehicle that shows up that no one thinks can win and ends up whooping everybody. So,
I love that.
Like
Thank
my-
you.
you know, my
Thank you for the
aunt-
confidence.
my aunt Ethel was so unassuming. She worked at the old Anaheim Bowl for years and years and years, and when she got out on the lanes bowling, she was just lethal. And like I was a decent bowler when I was younger. I could roll a 240, but Ethel 270 and above. She was just so good, and she was small. She was married to my uncle Jim, who was an Anaheim cop for 30 years.
People are
But so
cool.
you never can tell.
Well, I'll
so
tell you
I'm-
guys the truth.
Who
I
who's
cannot
the
tell a lie. I was born
who-
on an e-meter. I cannot tell a lie. And there's evidence out there because
yeah.
I cannot even lie about it because Aaron took a video of me bowling on his phone and he sent it to me like, oh, this is going to be cute. Like, she's going to nail it, and I totally sucked, like, really bad.
Oh, you
It's
were-
like,
you were
oh,
bad?
no, destroy that. Like, sometimes I
let's-
hit it good. Sometimes I don't.
Oh, well.
Tommy,
before you
the
answer
lifeboat.
who was the best, let's hear
Tommy,
what
the
everybody in the
lifeboat.
chat thinks
Tommy.
about it.
I had already answered, but I had
Yeah.
kind of tried to get everybody to put it in the chat earlier. So I did see some of those. I saw a lot voting for me, and I just really appreciate your confidence in me. I'm not a very good bowler,
Okay, so
but Tommy was
was
really good. Aaron was good too, and Laura was not bad at all. Laura was
Huh.
killing it. I was getting lessons from the cute guy who was like stalking the balls. He was just telling me what to,
I'm
keep it
horrible.
steady.
I look at it as a demolition project. I just try to put that ball down the alley as fast as I can, as hard as I can. I don't care about score. I just want to break stuff. So,
If
Mhm.
there were bumpers, I would have killed
Oh.
it. Okay, you guys. We'll just put it that way.
it's not skee ball. It's bowling, woman.
I know I'm not a good bowler. And I worked
I'm
in
horrible.
a lounge, like bartending when you get raised in Scientology, you don't really have an education, and you just have to make a lot of money to pay for your Scientology, like debts that you've started really early to pay for Scientology. So you
Well,
have
I
to
think
work
if
as
you can
hard.
afford a Lucky 13 shirt,
Yeah.
you're doing pretty good. So,
But you have to work so hard. So I bartended my butt off, and I would think I would be a better
Hmm.
pool player and dart player
nah.
because I was always in pool and dart. They were always giving me lessons. It's just not one of my, everyone has their intelligences. Some people are good at structural things, not this one.
Hmm.
I love pool. I love it. Are you talking like all the geometry that's involved in pool? Just by looking at the angles, I'm like, oh, I am all about that math. Let's do this.
Hmm.
Yeah, I love pool.
Plus, I'm one of those, I can't sit there and just, okay, you're the fifth person in line who gets to throw a ball down the lane. That's just too much for me. I can't stand. My brain goes at 1,000 miles a minute. I just sit there and burn up the whole time I'm waiting to go. So, but folks, we're at 2 hours now.
Yeah.
Let me bring Clearwater Chad in here, and I want to
Yeah,
hear from
bring him
everybody
in.
before we end this.
Hey, everyone.
Hey, Chad.
So,
Chad.
Jeffrey, you got any parting thoughts for us here?
No, it's been a great podcast. It's been fun to
I've
get
had
on and talk. It's just some serious content.
Oh yeah,
This show could spawn 5 other podcasts from what we
I think it's
talked about.
going.
I'd like to do the gaslighting and what it really is and how intense it is.
Oh yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. That's going to be a good one, Miss Vanessa.
Oh, this was so fun. Thank you for having us on. Some
Oh,
of my
thank you.
favorite people on the screen. Chad supporting us in the background.
Oh,
Goldie in the chat. Marilyn, Juliana, everybody who came by for Easy New Project. Like, literally, we see you guys in there and we just say thank you.
Hey, you didn't just win an Oscar. You don't have to thank everybody.
I did. We're at the end of the 2 hours. We made it.
Liz?
I had a blast. I do want to say, please hit subscribe.
Yes.
Smash that like button. Every little bit helps, but I had a blast.
Yeah.
Anytime we can get that truth out is good with me.
Yeah. Chad?
Yeah, I mean, thanks for having me, Poe. It was great to be here and with all you great guys, especially second gens, first gens, Jeffrey, everyone. Great. Like everyone said, we all have channels if you want to subscribe.
Oh, yeah. And, as always, folks, thank you so very much for spending your valuable time with us.
Yeah.
You're the reason why we're able to do this, and we truly appreciate each and every one of you. We don't make any money for this. This is just truly enjoyable, and it's something that we like doing. I have met some amazing people through the SPTV verse, so I love this. If you are in Scientology, you want to find your way out, you're scared, you don't know what to do, the aftermathfoundation.org, go there. They will get you out anonymously. They will help you. They will do what they can to help get you back up on your feet and able to re-enter society. Well, or enter it for the first time if you've never been there. But they will help you best as they can. And it's great people like Jeffrey. Jeffrey has taken so much of his time. He's following the money trails, things that if I don't take my shoes and socks off, I ain't counting past 20. So, having Jeffrey who can handle all those finances, absolutely amazing. You got Vanessa, who is, come out. You are strong, beautiful, independent. You are able to take care of yourself. I think you're much stronger than you believe yourself to be. And you're going to show us just how strong you are here in the future. Liz, you are a rock. You are an amazing person, and it's a true honor and privilege to have you here with us and have you share your story. And
Thank
I
you
hope
so much.
from my heart. And folks, thank you so much for joining us. Every one of you who gave in the super chats and all that, thank you so much. If you don't have the money, don't worry about it. I'm not doing this for the money. I'm loving every moment that we're here. So, folks, as always, life is short. We get one shot. So make it count.